I think we could do it all in one take. I believe in us.
Okay, let's do it all in one take. Welcome to the Screen Guide Podcast, a podcast aimed at bringing context, commentary, and conversation to the blank that you love.
I'm your host, Derrick.
And I'm Daniel.
What's the blank that we're filling in today, Daniel?
Today we're going to be talking about Oscar snubs, ridiculous Oscar trivia, and a brief history of the award show itself, plus checking in on the 2026 Academy Award race. But before we get into that, let's talk about how we feel about our first episode. This is our second episode right here. And so I figured we should talk through how we feel about having our voices out there, having the Screen Guide
podcast
out there for the first time. Derrick, how are you feeling about our first episode?
Man, it was a scary thing being like, oh, we're starting a podcast and we're blasting it on the internet and now we got to kind of promote it. And I think I have loved how many people have loved listening to the first pod. People have been so kind, have offered great feedback and saying, here are moments in the podcast that I really loved and your perspective on, I like Train Dreams and Daniel doesn't, which still kind of hurts my soul. But it was really cool to have those deeper thoughts out on there and have people just respond in kind. So I've been feeling really, really happy and joyful about the entire experience. But what about you, Daniel?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree that it did feel a little scary to do it. This is something that I know that you have a little history of your own podcast history doing them yourself, but this is my first time doing something like this outside of featuring with other people. And so it felt really good to have our followers, our mutuals, everyone feel really welcoming and excited for it. There were so many people that automatically followed our social media pages or tuned in automatically, and they were like, when is the next episode? And I think that's the feeling that I got too, was people were hungry for it and we only did one. And it's kind of like if you make a meal but you didn't make enough for seconds. And I was like, oh no, we need to be better at either backlogging or get on a routine, because I really did feel that okay, if we need to capture this momentum, we should go for it.
Yeah, we got to push through. And we are, y'all. If you're listening, this is the second pod, but we're going to be better at being consistent. Daniel has a huge test coming up and I'm just bad at being consistent. So blame me more than Daniel. Daniel has bigger things, to fry.
We're not going to let any blame. No blame here. This is how we promised you all that we would do it, is that we were going to start out kind of loose and then build a structure going on. We are currently going to be covering the Oscars pretty heavily before the ceremony, but after that, we're really going to find our new footing, covering either new releases, old favorites, and finding what this podcast can truly be. But right now, it's kind of this lovely, amorphous, kind of loosey-goosey concept. And I kind of like that. And that's what I heard from people as well, that it felt really loose, not really structured or scripted.
Yeah, we could also call this a hodgepodge podcast. It really is different people, different perspectives. We are different people with different perspectives, and we hope to have all forms of our thoughts on this pod. So we also have I think we're building a letterboxd, and we do have an email, the screenguidepodcast@gmail.com. At least if you have feedback on the podcast and you're like, hey, maybe this is something we want to see, or this is something we want to listen to, and I want you guys to dive in and have your full length opinion on, please feel free to hit us up there or on Instagram or on TikTok. We love all sorts of feedback.
100%. And we're going to be starting to do a lot more audience participation. When we talk about a movie, we might pull some of your Letterboxd reviews about that movie. Or if we have some subject matters, we might put a quiz up on our Instagram or on our TikTok to be like, what is your answer to this question? We're just excited to hear back from you and have you be an active participant in the podcast. I know it's just Derrick and I's voices, but it's going to be your thoughts as well. Speaking of Letterboxd, one thing I wanted to check in on was what you've been watching. I know that both of us follow each other on Letterboxd. We follow each other on our socials, but I'm curious if there's any movies that you've seen this week, any TV shows that you've seen this week that you want to highlight either for me or for the audience for us to see what we need to check in on next time we see each other.
Yeah. Well, right now I have to plug that I'm reading Project Hail Mary. That has consumed my life in ways that I did not know. In the span of 2 days, I've already read up until chapter 8. So
Okay.
I'm a slow reader. I like, if you're listening to this, you'll be like, oh, I don't know. Depending on your level, you're like, he's fast. I'm a very slow reader, but there's not going to be any spoilers. I'm not really going to delve into it, but the book is super engaging. I love the subject matter. I love sci-fi, so this is a good read. So, gonna plug Project Hail Mary. And right now, I'm kind of in this weird space with movie watching. I've been watching a lot of Sidney Poitier films. So I watched recently The Edge of the City. This is a directed film by Martin Ritt, his first feature film, and it stars Sidney Poitier and a young John Cassavetes.
Okay.
And it's about this kind of working class struggle, their interracial relationship. It was just such a fascinating film to kind of dive into. And then recent watches at the theater, Crime 101, I actually enjoy. I know everyone says it's a Heat remake. Give it a chance. It's a good LA thriller. Mark Ruffalo, Halle Berry especially is great. Chris Hemsworth, maybe not the best, but
Okay.
it's thrilling. It's engaging. So that's kind of what I've been watching recently. But what about you, Daniel?
Well, first, I want to say I haven't seen Crime 101, but I don't think calling something a Heat remake is an insult in my mind. Like Triple Frontier, Den of Thieves, these are fun movies. Now, I hear from, like, I saw your Letterboxd review that you have this movie, I'm sure, above like the knockoffs, that this feels like a
Yeah.
wholly original thing. But I'm excited to see it eventually. I really like the cast. I just haven't been able to get to see that or like make millions. I haven't been to the actual theater outside of like watching some of these Oscar movies in a little while.
Well, I feel like this weekend is maybe the worst. And I was looking at what to watch, and if you've seen Crime 101 or maybe How to Make a Killing, there's nothing really outside of that to go watch today.
So I have recently 2 nights ago, we hosted the film group that I run. So we watched Losing Ground by Kathleen Collins and had an amazing conversation about it. Probably my favorite conversation or discussion group from one of the films that I've showed them. I thought it was really, really great. We kind of did it for Black History Month and as a celebration for the 1 year of the film group that I run. And then I've been watching or catching up on a lot of the Oscar nominees. So I watched 3 different documentary nominees.
Okay, that's big. You're not a big documentary guy.
I'm really not. And like, if you read my reviews, I it's clear that I have no idea what I'm talking about when talking about what makes a good documentary. It's really just a gut feeling. I have all 3 of them at a 4-star because I'm like, it, I'm a
It's
4-star warrior.
effective.
It's
Yeah.
a 4-star warrior.
Hey,
So
come
like,
on.
if it's effective and it does the thing and there's nothing that's really sticking out to me, I'm like, there's no. Yeah, I'm sure there's many people that love this thing, but the I'm actually really surprised that my favorite of the bunch is not Alabama Solution. It's not The Perfect Neighbor, right? Like these in general, those are the ones that I have history watching are these more crime oriented documentaries. Uh,
Yeah.
this little film called Come See Me in the Good Light.
Okay, I
Uh,
saw you just logged that
yeah,
at
I was
4.5.
no, it's still at a 4.
It's
I
still
don't
4.
know.
Okay.
I think Stop Making Sense is my only documentary I have ranked on Letterboxd above a 4. Um, but no, it's very touching. It's about the last few years between, 2 kind of poet lovers, and one of them is diagnosed with cancer, and the cameras are in their home, basically 24/7, and it has like excitement, jubilation, joy, sadness. It made me feel the rainbow of emotions, and the way that I measure if a movie is good overall, the number one criteria for me at least is how does it make me feel, and this one made me feel a lot.
Okay. Well, I got to check it. I'm slacking on the documentary front as well, so I gotta pick up the pace. And also, Daniel, I have a pressing question for you
Oh wait,
because
okay, go for it.
I, I'm not in Chicago, but your film therapy group is in Chicago.
Yeah.
Is there any chance you'll ever have a virtual film therapy group?
Okay,
Not
putting
just
me on the
me, but I
spot.
feel like the people clamor for an engaging time to just to watch a movie and also delve deep into what themes this movie have. So, would you ever think about doing it virtually?
I like the idea. And in fact, I have a follower named Shona who has suggested multiple times having like a discussion group that we give followers one movie to watch on their own and then come together and watch it or like talk about it on a live stream sometime. Why I haven't done it yet is part of the point of the group or how it was founded is that watching movies together in the same room does change your somatic and chemical experience. Like the chemicals in your body change and your soma interacts with the people around you. And so I think that that part of the group would be a little less effective to explore. But I like the idea of what is it like? What is your somatic reaction when you are not in the same room, but in the same community? And so, yeah, I mean, look,
I look, my soma would be changed. That's what I will say. My soma would be changed from Texas. But I get it. I get it. I love the group. That more of a plug for your Chicago group. And if you're a listener from Chicago, make sure you check that out. It's really is a really cool experience.
I mean, you got me noodling. I definitely think that this is something that in maybe not March. March is going to be busy, but I think in the next few months, maybe we could get a group sponsored by, co-hosted by the Screen Guide Pod to kind of like build community, use one of those spaces where you can watch a movie together and then have like a massive Zoom room or something where we can just get people in, have a respectful conversation. Because that's what this podcast is like turning in for me. And this is what like the new live streams I've been doing is really trying to cultivate environments where we can have disagreements or agreements through the lens of like really respectful, enriching conversations. I know that you popped into my live stream this week, and a bunch of people have been joining those. And man, that is rewarding stuff. That's more rewarding to me than like the. I love the letterbox live streams, but like that is just like reviewing someone's account. Those
Right.
live streams and like this podcast have been like talking to real people about their movie thoughts, even if I don't agree. I mean, that's what's really special.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe we start something with the pod. If not in Chicago, we could always do like you said. This could be a screen guide. We could start a Discord, or we could maybe do the Zoom thing. Who knows where this could take us? But I love the idea of community and this communal aspect of movies is, and what just the collective mind between watching a movie and someone having a differing opinion than you and being moved differently than you. But that ultimately is what movies are about, is to help us engage with this art form and help us to emotionally connect, not just with the art, but with each other. And so I really love that film through group, but I would hope we could do the same thing with the pod.
Oh, for sure. And like speaking of the pod, one thing that I love is that you brought this up on the pod, right? Like I want the audience to hear us working through things and like popcorning ideas in real time so they can be a part of the history of the pod, the history of our relationship. And that's one of the things that we wanted to talk about today is the history of the Oscars as an award show. Uh,
Nice
yeah, yeah,
segue.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I like it.
Thank you. Yeah, you know,
He's getting into meat and potatoes. He's like, yep, all the mushy gushy, let's get into it.
no, no. I look as a therapist. Oftentimes, my clients are like, "Whoa, nice segue," and I'm like, oh yeah, we got to work on the segues here." And so I always wanted to practice. If I had a podcast, that we would work on
That's so
the
fun.
a segue. And the best part about a good segue is when you cut off the segue to acknowledge that it's a
That it's
good
a segue.
segue. But yeah, before we talk through kind of like our Oscar snubs or check in with this year's Oscar race, uh, we thought we should talk about the history of the award show itself because we are the podcast that focuses on and acknowledges that things do have a deep, rich context. So, Derrick, how much do you know about the start or the founding of the Academy Awards and the Academy itself?
I feel like I know just enough to be like, I think it was founded as a union, but like that's it. It's kind of just like a headline. I know it's a collective of people who get together and they vote on the awards body. But hit us with the facts. Why was the Oscars started?
So Louis B. Mayer, which you might know from MGM or Mayer Pictures, uh, one quote is to unite the branches of the film industry, actors, directors,
Where's this
technicians,
accent?
and
Hold
writers.
on, where's the accent coming from?
Look, that's what he sounded like. That's what
Okay,
he sounded like.
right.
See,
Yeah, yeah.
but this is a quote that I really is in a biography about him that really puts into context a little bit of the history. He said, "I found it was the best way to handle filmmakers. The best way was to hang medals all over them. If I give them cups and awards, they'll kill themselves to produce what I wanted. That's why the Academy Awards were created." Like,
Yeah,
it's like
okay, that
the most manipulative, like, I'm gonna do these things so people listen to me. But it actually goes farther than this, Derek. Unless do you have
yeah.
something to say about that
No,
quote?
no, no. I literally the quote. I mean, it's kind of true to a degree.
Oh yeah.
I
I mean,
mean,
there's definitely some truth. That so Mayer wanted to build a home. He wanted to build a vacation home. And actual contractors were too expensive. They had too much like bureaucracy, red tape. And so instead he didn't want to use conventional labor. He did use studio construction workers because they're faster. They can cut around corners. They can do it. And during this time, this was like in the 1920s. This is when IATSE, this is when SAG, this is when a lot of like unions were wanting to start. And Mayer founded it designed to seem like an advocate for employees, trying to replace the need for a union, kind of like being a promise of an industry-wide body that could help set standards. But that was like all a facade. It was all just like union busting rather than founding for a union.
man. Okay, so now I feel like my whole relationship with the Oscars feels like should I like it? Like I'm like, do I should I be against it? I don't know. I know it's changed over the years since its inception, but that's kind of
Well,
crazy.
very much so in like the mid 1930s, it really moved away from trying to be like a union. So like 1935, 1936. This is all, by the way, by one of like Teen Vogue does amazing research. Like I
Hey,
don't
don't
like I do
sleep on
want
the
to plug my
writers.
resources here. Teen Vogue has an amazing article about the union connection or the anti-union connection with the Academy Awards, but it really did shift away in like the 1930s away from this kind of more insidious inception. But I mean, there's so many things that we can look throughout history that have bad beginnings and turn out to mean a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this needs to make us like an anti-Academy Awards show, although I do know there's a lot of people that are anti-Academy Awards. For me, this is just more like part of the tapestry
Yeah.
of the Academy Awards.
Yeah, to know the history, it really helps us to inform how we engage with it even today. So just knowing that it was anti-union, and sometimes when we get lost in the weeds, and this has happened over and over again between, is it Michael B. Jordan or Timothy Chalamet, and we get so lost in these conversations that feel so frivolous at times, but it just helps to be like, okay, this is where it started and how it's changed over the years. And even different people, even in the academy, in the industry, feel so differently about the Academy Awards or SAG and their awards. You know, there's so many at this point. But yeah, I love honoring people. I love seeing people be celebrated for films, and the discussion between that can sometimes feel like, are we? Is this? Did we lose the plot?
Well, it turns
Are we
into
actually
sports.
celebrating? Yeah,
Yeah.
and but ultimately, I think the aspect of we're celebrating people. Like it's human people who make these films and have gone the lengths of their artistry to make this happen, and I just love that.
I love that too, and I also love how the Oscars historically get underseen movies more seen, right? We can look at stats of PVOD, that's like paid video on demand, for those who, I know that you know that, but like we can
Yeah,
look at the stats of that or ticket sales that when nominations or wins come, it does benefit these movies. So we can think it's frivolous. We can be like, say they don't matter because they didn't nominate Minecraft. They do matter because it gets movies more in the conversation.
yeah,
And I think it's the celebration part, but it's also like the communal element part. That's why, like, when I see the Oscar viewership being down, or when I see an Oscar ceremony that isn't run well, I'm like, well, this is why it's affecting the business negatively. This is why it's affecting the culture negatively, because this is a celebration that is supposed to be a unifying event in some ways.
Yeah. And I mean, I think there's times where historically the Academy has been, the Oscars too white,
Oh,
just
yeah.
being an aspect of it. Yeah, we have to talk about the history of it not fully representing all filmmakers and all films. Not just it's more Americanized to a degree. We're not getting African cinema, European cinema, Asian cinema, like all sorts of cinema that's non-English and non-American. That is a historical bias of the Academy, and I think those once again is I like seeing the Oscars as a window to what people's not expectations, but even perceptions of cinema are. And so, me thinking of Roma winning international best international, that is a big win. Then the next year we see Parasite winning, and now we see this boom of international cinema at large, people just talking about it. Before then, you didn't really get to see that boom. Even them adding animated feature. I think back in was it 2001 when Shrek won?
Yeah, when
Uh,
Shrek was the first winner.
yeah, and that is also another precursor of animation becoming something more in the West that we get to see. And so I love seeing the Academy as a way of where are people's, well, maybe it's not people, but just Hollywood and their perceptions of what people want to see in cinema. And I think that is part of its history. It can be a guide, just like the Screen Guide podcast, to give us just context to where films are as a whole.
100%. I mean, one of the things I love in the 2010s run of like best director category was that run that went like Coron to like Inarritu to uh, Inarritu again, Guillermo del Toro, Alfonso Cuarón, like all of these lovely Mexican filmmakers finally getting their due. Because if we look down the list, and I have some trivia questions about this coming up, but if we look down the list of directors that have been nominated or especially won like best director, for example, I mean, they look like me. It is a bunch of white dudes who like that's I mean, the Oscar So White campaign
Yeah.
really started from that, is that the award show did not seem to not only mirror the world, but this is an American award show, and it didn't even seem like it mirrored what America is. Well, we kind of dropped the idea of trivia in. Should we move
Right.
into the trivia quiz section of our pod?
Let's do it. I'm excited for trivia. I'm also scared because sometimes I'm the worst at trivia. Being put on the spot, I'm like, you could ask me something and I probably won't know, but let's get into it.
Some of these things I do not expect you to be able to name, because some of the things I wrote down are movies that I've never actually heard of. But I first went to our best friend Letterboxd for some
Ooh.
information. I made a list of, or I should better say, I cloned a list of all of the Best Picture nominations. So, my first question for you, Derek Simi Views: how many films have been nominated for Best Picture in the history of the Academy Awards?
Nominated for Best Picture in the history of the Academy Awards. Okay, so there used to be five up until
Sometimes.
recently. Sometimes now there's about 10 as of, I think that was 2010. I don't know. So 100 and then five times, let's say it's 75. I'm going to say about 500.
About 500.
500. That's my number.
And I love this, guys. I loved hearing the math live on screen, because I haven't taken a math class since high school, because when you get a BFA, you don't have to take any math.
Hey.
So, some things in your math that were a little bit off is the switch over to 10 was actually not the first time that we've had 10 nominees. There have been multiple years in the 1900s, as they call them,
Early
that
19.
the early 1900s, throughout the 1900s, that we also had 10 nominees, and then throughout the 2010s, sometimes we had 8, sometimes we had 9. Like there's been a kind of a wide swatch of things. So there have been 621.
Ah,
But like
okay.
Price is Right
That
rules, I think you got it right, right? Like there was another
yeah, I
person
would
here, we could maybe test it out, but
yeah, I think I like that aspect because I didn't know, or I did kind of know that there were some years that had less and more, but I didn't know there was back in the early 1900s that there was about 10. So yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
620.
620, and according to Letterboxd, I've seen 307 of them, so I do have
Whoa.
my work cut
Okay.
out.
No, you're the king of not completionist, but you're close with a lot of these lists. I'm always like, I can count on Daniel to have seen a lot of these films.
No, I'm no Bryce. I mean, the thing, like, when Letterboxd went from 250 to 500, I'm very excited. I like the
Yeah.
change, and also, that means that I now have 250 movies to watch, because I went from a 50% completion rate on that list to a 50% completion rate on that list that's now longer.
There you go. I went from 52 to 47. So that maybe shows I wasn't watching international cinema as much as I claimed to be. I don't know.
I mean, looks like we have a challenge for the year. Okay. Moving on, I don't like to speak on to the negatives, but there have been, like I said, 621 nominees. What do you think the 3 lowest rated Best Picture nominees in the history of the Academy on Letterboxd are?
Best Picture nominees.
Best Picture nominees.
Nominees?
Nominees,
Okay.
not winners. Not winners. 2 of them, I
Mm.
will say, 2 of them are winners.
Okay, so Crash is definitely one of them.
Crash, not one of them.
Wow.
Crash,
Okay.
not one of them. I think Crash is close to one of them. I'll see where it is on the list right now. Crash, not even in the top 10 or bottom 10.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I really was thinking that was going to be one, but I guess I got to go back in history. What was the first one?
The
First
first winner
Academy
was
Award winner
Wings.
was Wings. Is Wings one of them?
Wings is not, but you have the right idea of going back in the past. And
Okay.
I don't know if so I will give you these 2, because I don't think you'll be able to name them. These are the second and third winners. Broadway Melody and Cimarron are 2 of
Okay.
the 3 lowest nominees. But I'm not gonna give you I'm not gonna give you the actual lowest nominee because I think you know it, because I will tell you, it did come out in the 2020s.
It came out in the 2020s.
It came out in the 2020s.
Is it Emilia Perez?
It is
Oh,
Amelia Perez
yeah.
as the lowest rated out of every single, like, this is the average
Wow.
star rating, lowest out of every single nominee of the 621, with an average rating of 2 stars.
That's so fascinating. I mean, it probably is because a lot of people have seen it. That's part of it. You
Seen it,
kind of
review bombed it. We know that,
review
like, when
bombed.
looking at, like, what's happening this week with Scream 7 or what happened with Wuthering Heights, is that Letterboxd is now a community where we're getting as many review bombers as we got in the Rotten Tomatoes community or IMDb
Mhm.
community. So, um, yeah, should it be the lowest rated nominee in the history?
Yeah. I mean, I've heard things about, is it Cimarron? I
Cimarron.
haven't seen it yet. I don't know. I don't know. I would have to also look at the entire list. I don't like Amelia Perez. I'm not a defender of it. But to think it's the worst one, even below Crash, that's where I'm like, that, I don't know.
There are other
I don't know
Best
about
Picture
that.
winners below Crash as well. The Greatest Showman is below Crash on this list. The Great Ziegfeld's below Crash. Tom Jones is below Crash. Like, Crash, I mean, it is in the bottom. I'm not going to deny that, but Crash is at a average 3 star on Letterboxd.
This is one of those movies I would want to watch in a group and see where other people's perspectives are with where they think this movie is good. But The Greatest Showman, though, I want to say, if this is the first time on the podcast, I do not like The Greatest Showman.
Yeah, no.
So it being low
Oh,
on the
not The Greatest
list.
Showman. Greatest Show on Earth.
Oh, okay. I've heard of that one.
Cecil B. DeMille's Greatest Show on Earth, which is worse than The Greatest Showman.
Is it worse though? I don't think you understand my hate for The Greatest Showman, though. I'm not saying that other movie, The Greatest Show on Earth, is not bad, but I don't think you understand the beef I have with The Greatest Showman. But shout out Hugh Jackman.
Shout out Hugh Jackman. You heard that right on this pod. Yeah, Crash is the movie. I think I've told you this. We watched Crash in my grad school program, and it almost made me be like, why am I at this grad school program for counseling competencies? And in fact, we had like a whole session basically yelling at the teacher, being like, why are we watching this movie for a counseling degree in competencies? Like, this movie is not a good example. Moving on to highest rated on Letterboxd of the nominees. What are the 3 highest rated on Letterboxd of all 621 nominees?
Of all 621 nominees, I'm going to start off with The Godfather.
Godfather is, I mean, you are close. Godfather is, I believe, 7 on this list.
Okay. All right.
But you're like so close. You're like maybe like a second degree away.
Is it The Godfather 2?
Okay. Godfather Part 2 is the number 2 most popular film on Letterboxd that has been nominated for Best Picture. Yeah.
And we're going by popularity or average rating?
Oh, sorry. Average star rating. Average star rating.
Okay.
Yeah. The popularity, I do have that as the third kind of Letterboxd question of the 3 that Letterboxd questions I prepared, but we'll get there. But yeah, no. Godfather Part 2 is the second highest rated of the nominees.
Man, I'm doing this without cheating too, y'all. Like there's nothing. I'm not on my phone. I want to also say, is not Jaws?
Not Jaws. Jaws.
Not Jaws. It's not
Jaws.
Even,
not nominated.
Is it?
Write into the Screen Guide podcast at gmail.com if Jaws was actually nominated and I'm making a fool of myself. I'm going to give you another hint here. One of them is like the highest rated movie on IMDb and is like one of the most famous movies from the 90s.
Shawshank Redemption. Okay.
And then finally, one of them is your favorite movie of all time.
12 Angry Men.
12 Angry Men is the highest.
Go. Yeah. I was like, I don't want to say it and then be sad at the news that it wasn't that high.
No, it's the highest rated nominee of all time. We also have like Lord of the Rings, Schindler's List, Parasite, The Godfather, There Will Be Blood in that like top list. Are you surprised by any of these being the highest rated?
No. I was really trying to think of, I had all those kind of in my mind, but yeah, that makes sense. They're great movies. I really don't have any hot takes about any of those.
Yeah, those all make sense. Now, the final kind of Letterboxd Oscar trivia here. What are the 3 most popular movies to be nominated for Best Picture according to Letterboxd?
3 most popular films nominated. If I was going by like watches, I was going to say like Barbie. So that
Barbie's
changes.
Barbie's number 2.
There we. All right. So Barbie is Parasite.
Number 1 is Parasite.
Okay. I'm locked in. I know what the people like. Parasite, Barbie, and I don't know what 3 could be.
Well, 3 almost was a Best Picture winner. Almost was
La
a
La
Best
Land.
Picture winner. La La Land is the number 3.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm not even going to I'm not going to ask you the least popular. They are 1934's The White Parade, 1931's East Lynne, and 1942. Now, I know this is your favorite movie of all time, The Pied Piper.
Oh, yeah. No, I watch that every Christmas with my family. It's that good. I'm the only one that's logged it on Letterboxd, so
Yeah.
shout out me.
Also, none of my mutuals have logged any of those films on Letterboxd, and I have a bunch of completionists in my mutuals there. So those were the Letterboxd trivia. Now I'm going to move on to some specific frustrating trivia categories. And I'm going to be focusing a little bit on one of my favorite categories at the Academy Awards, director. So
Okay.
we know that there are no Black directors that have ever won Best Director at the Academy Awards. But
I know, yeah, it's disgraceful.
yeah, maybe I should pause and be like, yeah, how do you
let
feel?
me get it out.
Yeah,
How do I
get
feel
it
about
out.
it?
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes back to the history of not showcasing films that rightfully deserve to be highlighted, celebrated, loved on. So yeah, it is not surprising, to say the least.
Not at all. Now, Ryan Coogler was nominated this year. There are 6 other Black directors that have been nominated. Can you name a few?
Now you're putting me on the spot again. This is what I told you, because now it's like, oh, Derrick's talking a big game about Black directors. Now he doesn't even know.
Not what I'm trying to do here. We're trying to
Dang.
highlight Black voices.
Yeah,
it's Black History Month. It's the final day of Black History Month, so we're trying to highlight Black voices here.
All right, let's go. Definitely Spike Lee. Let's get that.
Spike Lee, Black Klansman, his only nominee.
Which, yeah, that's
we'll get into that. We'll get into that.
It's a whole other thing. Barry Jenkins
for Moonlight, 2016.
I'm trying to think of was Gina Price Blythewood nominated for The Woman King?
Gina Price Blythewood for The Woman King was not nominated. There has been no female Black director nominated for Best Director.
I'm like, my mind is in a place of being upset by it, so it's hard to recall all of them, all the snubs. But okay, so we have, I don't think John Singleton
was the first Black director to be nominated in 1991, and one of the first for a directorial debut to be nominated. Boys in the Hood was nominated for
and he was
Best
like
Director.
23. I forgot about that. He was crazy to think.
Yeah, not nominated for Best Picture, but Best Director was the nominee there. And then you have, I believe, 3 more here, and I can shout them out if you'd like.
Yeah, if you want to.
We got Lee Daniels for Precious, based on the novel Push by Sapphire.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We have Steve McQueen, who did, like, his film won Best Picture, but he did not win for Best Director. That was 12 Years a Slave. And then we have only the 3rd filmmaker in the history of the Academy Awards to get nominated for directing, writing, and producing in the same year for a debut feature film. Jordan Peele for Get Out.
Yeah, Jordan Peele. How did I forget?
There we go. That is... This is what I call the disappointing corner of the Academy Award.
Because I'm like, yay. I got 3 out of 6, but it's like, out of how many Academy Awards have we had and how many nominations? And like you said, not a single Black woman is sad for the Academy. But I think, once again, hopefully this will the course, I think, is correcting, and we're going to start seeing more and more different voices as they've allowed more diversity into the Academy body. That's what I hope, and I'm hopeful, but you never know. They can still disappoint me.
Maybe this year we might have some. Maybe the tides will turn. The only other question, because I wanted to do some intersectional work here, the final director question is: who are the 3 women that have won Best Director at the Academy Awards?
We have Chloe Zhao, Catherine Bigelow, and is it Sofia Coppola?
Sofia Coppola has not won. It is Jane Campion for Power of the Dog, the year Coda won, which Coda is one of a number of films. I think there's like 8 films where the Best Picture winner wasn't even nominated for Best Director.
Right.
Yeah.
Coda win. We talked about this on the last pod. Just High School Musical. Just it's the plot of High School Musical. How it won the Academy Award. Who knows?
Look, I'm not going to stand up for Coda, but I will stand up for both my mother and Lewis Like Movies and say there are people in the world that like Coda or love Coda, and I'm really happy for them that their movie won Best Picture that year. I mean, it could have
We
been
can
Dune
say
1.
that for. Look, we can say that for any movie. There are people in the world that like
There's
all
people
sorts
that
of things.
we know that like those movies, and I'm glad that their film. I'm glad that they're happy.
I will never yuck someone's yum. So
I will. So speaking of yucking someone's yum, the Academy Awards have done that historically, and they come in the form of Oscar snubs.
we got to get into it because we
do have
gotta.
to.
There's some big snubs out there.
So Derrick and I, we're each going to present each other 5 Oscar snubs. And these are not just Best Picture snubs. These are like throughout the Oscars, what we consider maybe the major Oscar snubs. And we have to narrow it down to a Hall of Fame of 5. So not all 5 of ours are going to make it in. So maybe we'll get contentious, or maybe I don't know what Derrick's written. Derrick doesn't know what I've written. Maybe we've written the same things and they'll just like slot in really nicely. Who wants to go first?
I have to go first.
Okay.
Because this might be the most egregious Oscar snub of all time. And it happened at the 62nd Academy Awards. It is the Do the Right Thing snub. Not being nominated for it's actually 2 awards for Best Picture and Spike Lee for Best Director. I'm combining it as a whole because just Do the Right Thing needs the love. But only receiving 2 nominations for Best Supporting Actor, which I'm like, let's go, and Best Supporting Screenplay. But it being passed over and not even getting a shot to be nominated. And then I think to add a cherry on top, Driving Miss Daisy winning is what pushes this over the edge, because it's almost saying we're going to talk about race relations and we're going to talk about what's happening in America, but we're not ready to talk about the heated aspect. Like, Do the Right Thing is a strong criticism of what's happening in America, where Driving Miss Daisy is kind of like, this is what's happening in America. Can't we all kumbaya? And it's that Pepsi commercial, you know? And Do the Right Thing is blistering, but also just effective filmmaking. Spike Lee is, I think, at his best there. A lot of people would say. I love Do the Right Thing. It's my second favorite behind Malcolm X. But it, yeah, I'm just heated because to think of it not being nominated just shows once again where the Academy voting body was, where maybe Hollywood was at the time, and we still see egregious Oscar snubs, but that one to me hurts the most. But what are your thoughts on?
Well, if I look at my list and I look at my number 1 on my list, I have Do the Right Thing, Best Picture. And to put this in context, these were the other nominees that year. Because, yes, you said Driving Miss Daisy won, but we also have My Left Foot, which is Daniel Day-Lewis doing his best impression of someone with a malady. We have Field of Dreams. We have
good movie, but
I mean, good movie, but like, do you think of that as a Best Picture nominee?
No.
We have Dead Poets Society, and then we have the only film that I feel like, Born on the 4th of July, which is the only like other prescient film that year of like actually trying to say something. Oliver Stone kind of working through his feelings of being a veteran. And again, the winner was Driving Miss Daisy. And like, this is a wrench. This is not something that I like told us that we should do, but this is something that on the Movie Draft podcast I heard them do, is like, when we say there's a snub, what would we kick out? And this is one of those categories where I kick out basically all of it.
So you're not a fan of Dead Poet Society?
No, no,
I know that's not what we're talking about, but
I like Dead Poet Society. It's a vibe. Is it best picture winner in my mind? For me, not really. It's better than Coda, but it's not Coda. It's not Coda coded in some
yeah.
ways. And also, and this is just like a little side tangent I have. The main character is really excited because he says he got the lead character in Midsummer Night's Dream, and Puck is not the lead character in Midsummer Night's Dream. Now, that does not mean he should not. Uh,
That's why it shouldn't be nominated right there, y'all. You heard it here
because
first.
it's lying.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think like there's no way this wasn't going to get mentioned, and this has to be in the Hall of Fame. And if we had to choose between Best Picture and Best Director, if we had like I didn't give that directive either, neither did you. But if we had to narrow it down to one category, where would you put this? Would you do Spike Lee Best Director or Best Picture for Do the Right Thing?
It's definitely Best Picture,
Yep.
even though I do think the Spike Lee win as director is warranted, but I think what Do the Right Thing even says about America as a whole, I think deserve to win. Not even just be nominated, but deserve to win outright.
Yeah. 100%. Okay. I'm now going to bring in because we'll count that as that's an auto. That's auto win. So the next one for me, going to the 35th Academy Awards, and because we always talk about like Best Picture, Best Director, I wanted to go to Best Actor snub.
Okay.
And this person did get a nomination for this, but it is a snub for win because this actor was nominated, I believe, 8 times throughout his entire career. And Peter O'Toole from Lawrence of Arabia, this is the first time I believe he was nominated for Best Actor, and he didn't win. He did not win, and he never won. And I think this is one of the best performances of all time. So I am kind of putting up there for the Hall of Fame biggest snubs, Peter O'Toole.
Okay, I'm looking at the list
Yeah.
and Marcello Mastroianni, I haven't seen Divorce Italian Style. Jack Lemmon, Days of Wine and Roses, I have also not seen, but I do love Jack Lemmon.
Mhm.
Burt Lancaster, Birdman of Alcatraz. I think that's a John Frankenheimer directed film.
Yep.
Not seen it, but the only movie that I have seen is the one that won, which is
Yeah.
Gregory Peck, To Kill a Mockingbird as Atticus Finch, which that's a hard sell
I
because
know. I know.
that's a great performance right there.
Look, I knew when I put this down, I was fighting an uphill battle because oftentimes when we think about snubs, we think about these years where the person that won, it's atrocious. It's a travesty, right? Like you said, driving Miss Daisy and Do the Right Thing, right? Like that's an easy one to name. What I'm naming is two great performances, and I think one edges out the other. Like
Okay, tell me more. You actually, this is really good, maybe for me and for listeners. What are some acting choices that you think maybe Peter O'Toole had over Gregory Peck that maybe resonate with you more, or you think just drew a better performance for you?
this is not to take away from Gregory Peck. I think Gregory Peck is a screenwriting win in some ways, right? He gets a lot of really juicy stuff to say and perform. He does have an introspective performance. It's a good performance. There's just something about Peter O'Toole that feels like a live wire. It feels like lightning in a bottle of a performance. It's what I wish Timothy Chalamet brought to Dune a little bit, where there's almost like this chaos and this joy and this jubilation. I think his performance really matches the score of Lawrence of Arabia. The score, it has these like lilting flutes that then move into this like gorgeous horns playing, and his performance really captures that energy and captures the energy between these giant wide shots that David Lean catches in the desert versus these like small, intimate, like that scene where he holds the match in his hand and he lets it burn down. That is what I think he captures in his performance, where it's not just the thing that he's being told to do, is that when I see him perform, I feel like he's embodying that entire like, the entire film in his performance.
Yeah.
Uh, I just think it is one of the best performances I've ever seen, and it's yes, it has those yelly moments that you might see in a Daniel Day-Lewis clip on TikTok, but it also has this, like, childlike wonder that I don't think a lot of actors let themselves show. He lets himself be seen as so, like, wholly flawed. And I think it
Yeah.
is a very brave performance, and that's why I'd put it up there. I totally get if we go through the list and you're like, "You know what? The other ones we have prepared just are that much better." But the first thing I thought about was Do the Right Thing, and the second thing I thought about was, how did Peter O'Toole never win an Academy Award?
Yeah. I think that is egregious, but I have, so you might not like this. I have Lawrence of Arabia at 3.5 stars, but it is one of those movies that I definitely want to rewatch. This was at a time in my life where the length really got me,
Yeah.
and it just was hard to stay locked in. But I know if I rewatch it, especially knowing how much you love it, and I think what you said about his performance, I love performances like that that have this, and I remember that from watching it. Of like, okay, he's not the issue. Peter O'Toole was not the thing that makes the film not work for me. Um, and if I can just lock in, it'll be a film that I think will love and resonate more with.
Well, I also think it's one of those films that the medium that you watch it on really does affect how you resonate or feel with the film. Right? I got to see it last year at Music Box's 70 millimeter festival, and
Yeah, plug the 70 millimeter that's right in your backyard.
hey, we only
Shout
get it
out.
once a year. We only get it once a year.
Yeah.
Shout out Music Box, please sponsor us. And that film, and I also got to see 2001: A Space Odyssey that year. Um, Another film that might come up it might come up, might not. But both of these films, I think, went from 4.5s to 5 stars once I got to see them on 70 millimeter and saw them the way the directors wanted them to be seen.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna fly out.
Sounds
Hopefully,
good.
they show it at the music box. But all right, that is a good pick. I think we hold off, see where it maybe lands. But I'm gonna go. I mentioned this movie, and I'm keeping with the Spike because Spike is my guy. It is Denzel Washington at the 65th Academy Awards, losing out to a lot of people, but specifically to Al Pacino for Scent of a Woman, which is a career Oscar for him. He had not won before. And Denzel Washington, not Denzel Washington embodied Malcolm X to me. But yeah, that's my pick. What are your thoughts on it?
This is my favorite. I mean, outside of Lawrence Arabia, but this is my favorite biopic of all time, and I do think it's Denzel Washington's best performance. And I don't like Scent of a Woman.
There you
I
go.
I'm sorry. I think that movie is not good. That is my feelings of it. This is not a good film. Um, and this is. I think there's a lot of reasons why Malcolm X didn't get the win for best lead performance. Like he had just won an Academy Award. Was it the year prior or a few years prior?
I believe
And
so.
I think that this was a time where there was only certain actors that could be like double winners, and I don't know if those actors couldn't be white, right? Like in the '90s, we got Tom Hanks winning back to back. I think the Oscar audience has a different relationship with Tom Hanks than it did with Denzel Washington. But I was listening to the Big Picture podcast, and they talked through this exact thing that had this not happened, then would a Training Day win have happened if he won for Malcolm X?
Hmm. And I was researching that too, and people were saying Training Day is a career Oscar win, like
Mm.
almost like a hey, here you didn't win for Malcolm X, which is a little crazy because Training Day performance is also maybe a top 5 Denzel performance. I mean, he has so many great ones, but uh, yeah, but I just that lack of acknowledgement for, I think, what is one of the best performances of all time. He embodies Malcolm X and his mannerisms and who, like, when you watch a biopic, you kind of hope this is almost the standard for me. Like you said, Lawrence of Arabia is one of the better ones, but Malcolm X, you don't always have to just be one for one, but Denzel at least embodies who the person is. Like that at the very core, it may not be like, oh, he does everything, but who Malcolm X was as a person, you get to see that.
Well, it's my favorite type of biopic performance because it's not a one for one. It's not a caricature, and he doesn't look exactly like Malcolm X. This is the issue that I have with a lot of modern biopics. Like the photos for the Beatles movies came out, and people were like, "Well, that doesn't look exactly like George Harrison. So are we sure this is going to be good?" I don't want them to look exactly like George Harrison. I want them to have the essence of the
Mhm.
person or the human and don't do a caricature. And I think that's exactly what Denzel Washington brings to the role is it's not a caricature. It feels like you're watching a real life human being on screen, their trials, their tribulations. I mean, this is one of the best performances of all time, and this is why I have Denzel Washington in my, like, top 20 Hall of Fame for
Yeah.
performers, not just this role, but his embodiment of this role, and that's why I also think, like, people's Denzel Washington not hate, but they're like, all he does is be himself or be charming. I just think you need to watch more of his films if you think that's all he does, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's such a big difference between all of these roles, and they all feel very genuine, and so I think that's what people get caught up in is it feels like it's George Clooneying, but I think it's far more nuanced than why am I throwing George Clooney under the bus? But far more
Yeah, I was
nuanced
about
than
to say we got to pick maybe worse. But I know what you mean, though. I know what you mean, though. There's a humanity that Denzel brings to not only Malcolm X but all of his performances. Like watching Denzel Washington feel like it's not just acting. It's not like, oh yeah, he's just a good actor. Like which I know that is good acting in and of itself, but you watch his performances and you were like, this is this is art. Like this is a
Yeah, this
real
is art.
life. like like I literally am like, how did he do that? You know? Like how did he conjure up this emotion um in that exact moment? And so anyway, that's my choice. I know we can hold off. There might be some other bigger snubs, but I had to plug that in there.
I think because both of these actors are, they were nominated in these categories and they lost to well, one of them a pretty comparable performance and one of them just like a career Academy Award that I mean, Pacino's such a talented guy. He could have won for Dog Day Afternoon. He could have won for Cruising. He could have won for either of the Godfathers.
Raging
Why is
Bull, yeah.
why is this his Academy Award? Um, but yeah, I think maybe we have to pick one or the other when it comes down to this Hall of Fame we're building. So for the next one I'm putting up, I decided I started without going specific. I just wrote down the word Alfred Hitchcock.
Crazy.
Right, like, Alfred
Mm.
Hitchcock, no Academy Awards as a director ever, and I don't think we count Rebecca as his Academy Award because it went to the producers, even though he does have a Best Picture winner, and
Mhm.
I forced myself to narrow it down to one specific win I would give him, but kind of before I do that, like, I know that Alfred Hitchcock's your guy.
Yeah.
What do you feel about no wins for our problematic bully, Alfred Hitchcock?
Yeah, he is problematic. We gotta say that for sure. But yeah, I once again not acknowledging one of like when we think of best directors and we think of Alfred Hitchcock's films and suspense and thriller, like like they go hand in hand to me. Like when I think of suspense and how someone almost takes direction in a suspense film, I think of Alfred Hitchcock and him not winning for directing Oscar is like, what are we doing? People have been influenced by Hitchcock. We talk about his style and the way that he shoots his scenes and embodies, like it just is crazy to me that he was not given that award throughout his lifetime. And I can think of so many movies from, I don't know, Psycho, like Vertigo, Rear Window, like he's Rope. He's just, all of these are bangers and nothing.
Yeah, a lot of bangers, and it was hard to narrow down what award I would specifically give him. And I didn't go with my favorite. Like, my favorite is Dial M for Murder. There was no way he was gonna win for that. I don't think Rope was a winnable either. So, he's a perfect example of my favorite not being the best. Dial M for Murder is my favorite. I think Vertigo is his best film. I think when it comes to the visuals, when it comes to what he's capturing, the play with Technicolor. I mean, this film is on Sight and Sound's top list. It's in the top 10 AFI list. It's on so many lists. And this is where I would have given him an Academy Award for Best Director. This is the 31st Academy Awards. I believe 0 nominations for Vertigo. And I mean, I like the names of the people that are of the names I recognize, right? Like, we got Stanley Kramer for the Defiant Ones, which that's Sidney Poitier, right?
It is.
Um,
And Tony Curtis.
and Tony Curtis. Then we have I've never I mean, I've seen the movie, but I don't know other. I've seen Cat on a Hot Tin Roof by Richard Brooks, but I've not seen other Richard Brooks movies. And then we had Robert Weiss, who did Sound of Music, did West Side Story. Um, and then I don't know who Mark Robinson is. The winner here, shout out Raggle Fraggle and Raggle Fraggle's fiance, but the winner here was Vincent Minnelli and with Gigi.
Okay.
And Gigi is a visually stunning feast for the eyes that opens with a number, which it is about a older gentleman talking about how cute young women are. And I don't want to like malign the movie just because of this specific number, but like the movie itself to me is pretty messy. And I would slot a Hitchcock above all of these directors by far.
Yeah. I mean, looking at the list, I wouldn't put it past you. I feel like you said, Vertigo is just one of those movies that when I think of what are the greatest films of all time and what are the most influential films when it comes to its visual language, Vertigo is probably in most people's top 10, and that's why it's always been on the Sight and Sound, number one for as long as it has.
Right.
But it just is crazy to me to think that, which is always cool, kind of doing this retrospective where it's like in the moment, what were people thinking about Vertigo as they were voting? Like when I watch the movie, I'm like, yeah, this is great. Not just because people tell me it's great, but I watch it with my eyes and I'm like, yeah, this is really good. But what were people thinking back then? Was there, the politicking of the Academy Awards? Did they not love Alfred Hitchcock like they don't love a Park Chan Wook? Like, is that the same thing? Who knows? But
I mean, I think you're onto something there because if we look at the disciples of Hitchcock, whether it is a Park Chan-wook or a Brian De Palma, these are directors that really do not get the love from the Academy, and I think it's connected to the genre of it all,
yeah,
connected to the I mean, unsafe not because it was dangerous, but it felt unsafe to some of the Academy of voters in some ways because he's not following the rules. He's not being conventional. Like, Gigi is a costume piece. Cat on a Hot Tin Roof is dealing with subject matters that are kind of defiant in some ways, but it is also a costume piece. The Defiant Ones is pretty brave, but it's in line with what Stanley Kramer made. I just feel like Hitchcock broke rules and they didn't like it.
they don't like breaking rules. So moving on to my next pick here. This is one that people talk about. I've already mentioned this movie and my disdain for it. Crash winning Best Picture over Brokeback Mountain. What are we doing, Academy? What is happening? How do we have we're gonna get into it, into why I think this movie didn't get the love it rightfully deserved at the time, but that's my choice. Just Brokeback Mountain over Crash. Every day of the week, I watch both of those movies, and I would be like, "Yeah, obviously Brokeback Mountain. That's the Academy Award. Like, if you showed this to anybody else, they'd probably say the same thing." But what are your thoughts on
So as you're saying that the Sinners versus One Battle After Another of 2005 is your pick here.
it? Yeah, which one is which in
We're
this
never
case
we're
for you?
never letting you this take we need this take to stay. Yeah, I mean this is one of the probably the most popular or talked about snub of the 21st century. There's two that I'm thinking of. This and like 2010's kind of Oscar mix up. But yeah, I mean this is my favorite movie from Brokeback Mountain, at least, not Crash, is my favorite movie from 2005. And I think there's a lot of reasons why it didn't win, but we can just name one of them, which is homophobia, right? But they wanted to pick the film that they could pat themselves on the back, and Brokeback does not allow them to do that. I believe, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, uh, it won Best Director, right? Ang Lee won Best
Yeah.
Director,
Hmm.
so they can give it Best Director, um, but they're not going to give it Best Picture.
Yeah. It's so egregious to think, especially I was researching, there were members of the Academy, like Tony Curtis, who we just mentioned, who refused to watch this movie. So they didn't even give it a chance to make their own opinion, to say, you know what, eh, maybe I didn't like it for these number of reasons, but they outright just boycotted the film. And that is a crazy sentiment. For which I think this came out 2 years ago, last year, where they kind of did that poll and survey and said Academy Award members don't actually watch the movies, like they just vote on it. And it's like, sign me up. I'll I'll watch any number of these. And I get it. They're in an industry where, do they have the time? You should make the time if you're going to be voting for these things, but
I don't get it.
not in.
I'm
Yeah,
not standing by it. You're giving a pass. You're like, I get it.
no, no,
You're,
no.
you're
I'm not. I'm not.
busy.
I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. But just to say, it's crazy to think that they outright boycotted this film, did not form their own opinions, especially the older Academy members, is what I was seeing. And like you said, they were not ready. But to watch the movie and say, I'm not ready for love, essentially, that's what the movie is about. It's a heartbreaking romance. Like, how do you watch that film and say, this is not great? The landscapes in the film, and yeah, giving it best director just felt like the safer choice, to be like, we really like it up until um, we feel comfortable to almost put a stamp of approval and say, we actually are for this. It's kind of this like, I'm not racist, but are you anti-racist kind of vibe, where it's like, I'm not racist, but like, if something were to happen, are you actually advocating against, homophobia? Are you actually advocating against being not racist? And I think that's what happened with Brokeback Mountain, and then Crash winning. Like, oh man, that's another nail in the coffin.
Well, can I give you some more fuel for your Oba, Sinners, Crash, Brokeback Mountain theory?
Okay, here we go.
Best original screenplay went to Crash, and best adapted screenplay went to Brokeback Mountain. Meaning, if we look at the race right now in 2026 as it's going, it's looking like Sinners is going to get original and One Battle is going to get adapted. Then if we look at director, could we see a year where we get like a Coogler win for director doing the Ang Lee thing and then an Oba win for picture? I'm just saying, like, I don't think that's going to happen. It looks like
Yeah,
we got a PTA lock, but like
yeah.
looking at the original adapted as these kind of like, these are basically our two choices.
Hmm.
That's happening again this year in some ways of like, these are the ones that the Academy are saying, this is what represents 2025.
Right.
And these were the two that they really felt like represented 2005 in some ways. So yeah, that's my like adding to your fire. I like this
Yeah.
pick, and I don't imagine our Hall of Fame without it. So I might have to throw away what I prepared, but I really like you bringing this one up.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, we're gonna move on to my second to last option here. I'm moving to the 25th Academy Awards, where Stanley Donen's "Sing in the Rain" did not get a nomination or win for Best Picture. I mean,
Egregious.
this movie is one of the best movies of all time. 5 stars in my book. This was the movie that we started 2026 rewatching. The dream sequence alone is one of the most magical things ever captured on film. And what's funny is that the winner from this year is a movie that we've even talked about on this podcast today already, The Greatest Show on Earth by Cecil B. DeMille, which, again, I don't think is a good movie. And Singing in the Rain was right there. I mean, this was a good year for cinema. High Noon came out this year, but Singing in the Rain not get nominated, not getting a win,
Yeah.
I think is one of the biggest snubs in the history of this Academy.
It is. I was looking at this was on my list too, so I'm glad we have an agreement here because Singing in the Rain is one of the greatest. Like I have that in my top 10 movies of all time.
Oh,
Like you
100%.
mentioned, the dream sequence, make them laugh sequence. Um, the music is incredible. It's one of the few I feel like joyful films. Like you watch it and you can just feel just joyful afterwards. Like I feel giddy watching Singing in the Rain and researching this and seeing that the greatest show on earth is essentially propaganda. Like that's what makes it worse. It's like what are we doing?
I mean, the cast for The Greatest Show on Earth, I do want to say,
Yeah,
is
there's
like
some
actually insane. I mean, we have Jimmy Stewart, we have Betty Hutton, we have Charleston Heston. Like this is Gloria Graham, who's one of my favorite actors of all time. But a good cast can still make a bad movie.
yeah. It just was a Ringling Brothers Circus advertisement essentially, and
Yeah.
I think it was partnered with Cecil B. DeMille and just like one of the most powerful people in cinema's history. So it's like seeing that win is not shocking, but it's
It's
over
hard.
Singing in the Rain. Yeah, it's a hard choice.
Well, it's one of those things. So I want to own every single Best Picture winner eventually. That is like something
Okay.
I want to do for myself. And at Reckless Records, where I go often, there's this copy of The Greatest Show on Earth that's always there. It's always there. It's been there for months. And it's basically saying, Daniel, are you sure you want to own every single thing that has won Best Picture? Like, are you sure you know what that means? And so far, it has not come home with me because first off, it's like 20 something bucks. There's no way I'm paying 20 something bucks for that. And secondly, maybe this is my way of reckoning, do I need to own every single Best Picture
Everyone.
winner? Because if it was Singing in the Rain, I would already have it. But yeah, Singing in the
No.
Rain, I just like sounds like this was also on your list, which means we have 2 agreements so far. So really only 3 spots left. But yeah, this is what I'm putting up as my second to last recommendation. Where are you going
Great
next?
choice. Great choice. And I wanted to also add before I go to the next one,
Yeah, for
Gene
sure.
Kelly and Donald O'Connor, no noms there either.
Yep.
That's crazy. But in my next choice, which I feel like I kind of went safe here. I think this is my last one. When you mentioned this earlier as the kind of the popular pick, but we have The Social Network being snubbed over The King's Speech at
Yeah.
the 83rd Academy Awards. Let's talk about it because I know this is one people talk about, but I really was like, is it just popular because it's popular and we're talking about it? And I was like, the King's Speech, like, and I think even looking at the other nominees, like not just that the Social Network didn't win, I could probably take this over there's a handful of other winners here that I want, or nominees that I want to talk about. But
True Grit walked away with 0 Oscars this night. I don't think Hooper is a skilled director. And I think the film itself maybe is the best of the films I've seen from him, like Les Mis, Cats. Like, this is not a director whose work I like. But even if it was a film that I was like, yeah, this is a great film. Like you said, looking at the list, Inception was nominated this year. Winter's Bone was nominated this year. True Grit was nominated. Toy Story 3. And then, I mean, we have Black Swan, but Social Freaking Network, which my second favorite Fincher, one of the best films of the 21st century. Yeah, no, I mean, this is when I mentioned earlier when I was like, there's two big snubs of the 21st century, this is one of the two.
yeah, it just is. It's a biopic of sorts,
Mhm.
and I think when we think of influence once again, and a lot of people's once I try to take myself out of it because I do like The Social Network. My favorite Fincher is Gone Girl, but just because I love a thriller, that's just
Yeah.
more of it, my personal preference. But The Social Network is one of like just a tremendous screenplay through and through, and then just as an entire film is incredible and is so influential. Like I think a lot of people watch The Social Network and they have it at their favorite film because they can take aspects of why, like I made a video about film versus in art
Yeah.
versus entertainment, and I think a lot of people mention The Social Network as being one of those movies for them where they're like, yeah, this is kind of entertaining, but I actually love the art form of cinema, and cinema is now something that speaks to me in this visual language, and I can connect with it in a way that is not just like yes, no, good, bad, but more of like, oh no, these performances and Mark Zuckerberg and like now I'm questioning the system like through this film. Like it's that is what is so exciting about The Social Network, and I actually enjoy it. Maybe the craziest take I have is The King's Speech used to be like in my top like 50 films of all time.
Okay.
Like I'm not like a defender now, but I remember watching it and I was just like, it's an uplifting kind of movie. Like it's kind of one of those movies you watch and it's good. And I was like, no, it's uplifting, guys. Y'all don't understand. And now that I know the context and the history of all the other films, and it just doesn't live up to that standard, I think, of a Best Picture nominee, what it says to the time that we're living in and how we're living now, with Facebook and where it's at. Like we look back at The Social Network and as a warning, I don't know, as a message that said something greater. Yeah, so I think The Social Network is one of the greatest films of the 2010s,
I mean, it's a
21st century.
perfect blend of director, writer, score, like all of these artists working at the height of their powers, the best Jesse Eisenberg performance, even like casting that shouldn't work works. Like thinking about Justin Timberlake, it just it, it it doesn't make sense how good that one is. The Andrew Garfield performance, I think maybe his best role as well. Dakota Johnson appears for a little while there too.
Thoughts
But
on Dakota Johnson, real quick?
I think that people that love Materialist, I really appreciate them.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I see this up there as well. Um, and I think we're gonna have a hard decision on our hands when it comes to the 5 that we do, because I think it's time for my final
All right.
nomination.
I'm ready for it.
Okay. For my final pick here, I'm gonna highlight the film that I think is the best movie of the 21st century, which is
Oh,
Mulholland
that's a
Drive.
big statement.
I mean, look,
Oh,
it's Mulholland Drive here. David Lynch did get nomination for Best Director, but this is the film that I think is his best film. And when I look at what won, I have this film obviously above all of the ones that I've seen thus far. Now, I have not seen Gosford Park, and I have not seen In the Bedroom. But with the other ones that I've seen, uh, yeah, Beautiful Mind is fine. Moulin Rouge is fun. Lord of the Rings is phenomenal. Mulholland Drive, I think, whether from an acting standpoint, from a creative standpoint, from a therapist point of view, this is such a magical, wonderful film. It's a queer film. It is a film about Hollywood. It's just the best film of the 21st century. It's in my top 100 of all time. I cannot believe number one didn't get nominated. I guess I can believe it didn't get nominated because of like what the audience is and how
Right.
kind of disquieting this film is. So it's less about like I can't believe this didn't happen. This isn't like a Singing in the Rain pick. This is like, man, if the Academy was cool, if the Academy was like fucking cool,
Yeah.
this would have been up there.
No, I get that. So Mulholland Drive, I say is like my surrealist awakening. It
Okay.
was the film that I watched and I said, I don't understand this, but there's something more. Like there's something in this film that I'm like, I don't like this maybe, but like I know he's trying to say something or maybe he's not trying to say something. But like at the end of the day, I don't like it, but I it's something that is speaking to me. And I remember watching that and looking at this list and The Beautiful Mind winning. It's not a great film. The only one I can really say is like The Fellowship of the Ring. That's that's a tough one. That's a tough one to say and beat, but that is conventional. Like that is the win everyone maybe thought was going to take it possibly. I don't know what people were thinking at the time. But yeah, I don't know. That Mulholland Drive is amazing.
This phrase you just said, I don't understand this, but there's something more. I luxuriate in that sentiment because we live in a time where people's reactions to films there's I don't understand this, therefore it's bad. Or I don't understand this, there's nothing to it. But what you just said is the way that I think people should approach every David Lynch film. Is that yeah, I don't understand this, but that's not about the film. That's an opportunity to be stumped, an opportunity to explore how disquieting or uncomfortable it is to not understand. That again, that I always bring up that Nolan quote for Tenet, which is like, "Don't try to understand, just feel." And I really feel that for Mulholland Drive, and I wonder how many. I mean, I'm just getting sad because of Lynch's death. Like, I wonder how many of these we could have gotten if emphysema wasn't a thing, if his sickness wasn't a thing. This film is just so good, and I do consider this a snub comparatively, especially to the things that it was nominated. I mean, I do have Lord of the Rings at 5 as well, but like Lord of the Rings: Fellowship of the Ring, amazing movie. Mulholland Drive, one of the best movies.
Yeah. No, I agree. This is a when I'm thinking of maybe the Hall of Fame and we're thinking about influence when it comes to cinema, Mulholland Drive is once again one of those movies that other filmmakers have pointed to and said this is a source of you know of artistic like this is where my awakening for surreal films. This is a the way David Lynch has gone about making this film. Like it honestly, it helped maybe it's staying underground. Not being a advocate for it not winning the Academy Award. I would have loved for more films like this to have been made if Mulholland Drive did win, but I think it still being kind of an indie film to a degree, like it being made from the ground up. Um, and I think I have to put this in our five. Like like we have to push this in the list.
Okay. So before we get into the final 5, and I think we have like 3 or 4 already decided, I wanted to quickly go down what our audience has shared they consider the biggest snubs.
All
Uh,
right.
we have from Matt Allen, maybe not the biggest, but I'll never forgive them for not giving it to Andrew Garfield. I mean, he could have gotten it for Tick Tick Boom. I think few options there. Um, we have Denzel from Malcolm X.
Yep. Talk about it. We talked about it.
We have Naomi Watts not getting a nomination from Mulholland Drive.
Yep.
We have, and this is going for both of ours, Denzel Washington for Malcolm X. This is from Philip. Denzel Washington for Malcolm X or Do the Right Thing for Best Picture. I
Yep.
also want to shout out Royal Highness and Jacob Borgen for your comments there. And then Sunset Cinema added a few here. King's Speech, Tom Hooper over Social Network, David Fincher.
Mm-hmm.
Costner Dances with Wolves over Scorsese, Goodfellas.
Okay, that was gonna be on the tail end of my list. Yep.
Yeah, and then
Crazy.
Heat not getting nominated for anything.
Not even sound design. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Sunset Loner Cinema kind of coming in with those tops, but it looks like based on our list, I'll concede Denzel. I'll put Denzel over Peter O'Toole, especially because the Gregory Peck win makes sense.
Yep.
So we have Do the Right Thing, Best Picture. We have Denzel Washington, Malcolm X. You said we got to put in Mulholland Drive,
We
so we
do.
can put
We
Mulholland Drive
gotta
in.
keep. And then we
We both
both
had
had
Singing
kind
in
of
the
agreed
Rain.
on Singing in the Rain, so I think that's the one.
So the final spot is either Social Network versus King's Speech or Crash versus Brokeback,
Brokeback Mountain.
and then Hitchcock. So those are the three that we have to figure out to get in that final spot. Sorry, Peter O'Toole, you're not being considered. I think we have to go with one of the best pictures from the 21st century.
I agree. I feel like I just don't like Crash.
Okay, yeah, I think yeah.
I like the more that I think about it and the Brokeback win, I think that would have been such a monumental achievement in filmmaking, and we just did not recognize it in the way that it needed to. Well,
I
not we. It's not us. It was the
yeah,
Academy. What am
you're
I?
taking
I
credit.
am.
You're
If
taking
I was an
responsibility for
Academy,
that.
yeah. No, I'm not. If I was an Academy voting member, I would have chosen Brookbound Mountain, or at least where I really think I would.
I'm glad we have that on the record here. Yeah, I think we can definitely go with that. Look, The Social Network, Tom Hooper, like King's Speech, I acknowledge. Um, I feel that is egregious. But like you said, you like or have liked the King's Speech. So if anyone has questions over why we're not addressing The Social Network, it's just because Derrick thinks it should have gone to King's Speech here. No. Okay, so to run down, and I'll make a graphic for social media here. Our biggest snubs of the Academy Awards history are Do the Right Thing for Best Picture, Denzel Washington for Best Actor, Brokeback Mountain for Best Picture, Singin' in the Rain for Best Picture, and Mulholland Drive for Best Picture.
I think we did a great job.
Yeah.
Those feel like some solid picks.
Yeah, I'm proud of this list. I'm proud to have our names on this list. I do look at it and I'm looking like, oh, Derrick got 4 of his 5 in here,
Hey,
but
hey.
um uh yeah, I think I love this exercise, this kind of Hall of Fame stuff. It's a lot easier to do than like a ranking because we haven't seen all 621, so we can't really rank them all there.
Not yet. We haven't seen him yet. I
I
know
love that yet.
Daniel's hoping to do that within his lifetime.
Maybe so, maybe so. But speaking of yet, I wanted to do a quick check-in on this year's race, right? We are fast approaching. This episode is going to come out right after the actor awards. And so we're not putting our kind of like actor predictions out there, but we're going to be dropping this one about 2 weeks before the Academy Awards. And so I just wanted to do a quick check in. How are you feeling about this year's race?
Yeah, well, Oscar race kind of went a little crazy with the BAFTAs, which I think we can talk about the controversy in a little bit, but I think it overshadowed I think a good ceremony overall. I think the technical aspects of the BAFTAs went to the places we all thought, and the acting categories created all sorts of new drama. They were awarded to people who I don't think people envisioned were going to win that award at the BAFTAs. So I think for me, that makes the Oscar acting race really exciting. It really, I don't know how the Academy is going to vote, given the past, at least on the act. I mean, for the actor side, we've gotten a different winner every single time. We've gotten different recognition there. We've also, at the same time, on the actress categories, for the most part, besides Jessie Buckley, who I think will win, um, for supporting actress, who knows is going to win this category. So I think acting categories are up in the air. I think if I'm talking about locks, if we want to do that, PTA I think is going to win Best Director. But that gets into the exciting part where I think Sinners may have, for me, may have a lead maybe for Best Picture, is my kind of prediction here. And I'm gonna say it, and we might predict it again, but I think Sinners right now has this kind of momentum and energy going into it that I like. I could see it winning, especially if PTA is winning director. They're going to win original screenplay, one battle after another, best adapted. So, um, those are kind of my thoughts with the Oscars right now. It's a interesting race, at least in the acting awards, but the technical ones are kind of locked in.
Yeah, the technical does really feel locked in. I mean, it feels like F1 and Frankenstein are just going to really do their best down there. I think their biggest threat is maybe a Sinners, maybe an Oba, but it does feel like this is going to be above the line, a below the line kind of battle here, where most of the indicative awards are going to come from the above the line writing and directing. And like you said, the writing and directing does feel pretty much locked in when it
Yeah.
comes to the Sinners and the Oba of it all. I think that's really settled it out. I mean, we could be surprised. We're going to be doing our uh, nomination predictions, or kind of predictions for the award show itself next episode. So be on the lookout for that. But right now, I think you're right that the 3 actor awards, actor, supporting actor, and actress are the 3 that are the most up in the air, which I do think the actor award show, that's confusing, but the actor award show, the SAGs, that are coming up, I think that is gonna be a really big indicator, and especially knowing that, I mean, that is such an Americanized nominated group, right? We don't have a Vagnamora nominated. We don't have any of Sentimental Value. I think makes it hard to imagine a lot of those nominees having a larger chance, but I wouldn't count Stellan Skarsgård out.
Yep.
I wouldn't use the BAFTAs win for Sean Penn as a indicative that Sean Penn is gonna win. I mean, uh, it would be kind of wild that he has not really been getting any recognition throughout the award season and then just wins BAFTA and then the actor awards. And but I wouldn't put it past him. I'm not going to say it's not going to happen. I sometimes I have hope, right? Sometimes I'm like, hey, shitty behavior is not going to get awarded, right? But
Yeah.
we shall see there. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that overall, we talked right after the BAFTAs, and we were like, we kind of wish that we could have like sat down and chat about how um, the BBC mishandled a really uncomfortable situation, and mishandled is giving them too much credit. Like, I think this was like very insidious on how they handled David's outburst and the treatment of Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo. But I also think the kind of cynicist in me does see this moment as good for Sinners and their award chances when it comes to the conversation.
And that's kind of where I was thinking. kind of going into this awards race. I mean, because I think the awards, uh, the Academy Award voting body started voting Thursday,
Right.
this past Thursday, and so you have the BAFTAs fresh on your mind with this controversy. Not this isn't a conspiratorial thing, but I do think, like you were mentioning, it's fresh on their mind. It's something
Yeah.
that they're thinking about, um, who to award, and I think that may shift a lot of voters' minds. Maybe they've had their minds set in stone, but yeah, I think the BAFTAs really did mishandle so many of that, and the discourse that came from it. All I'll say is some of y'all are having discourse about the discourse, and you're not actually diving into the hurt that real people feel and the people who are affected. And so when it comes to these moments, take a deep breath and go after the systems that have failed the people, and not the people who are hurt by those systems. So that's kind of what the BAFTAs felt like for me. I was like, we're wrong. We're mad at the wrong people, y'all. We're not that we have to give grace or whatever, but just like take our time, and go for, yeah, the systems.
No, 100%. I think a larger part of me is glad that we waited a week to talk about this because we're not speaking from, you know, a reactionary place. We're speaking from a place of, wow, the system failed these people. The system really did. Even like the news article coming out later being like, he was told they'd edit out everything. He was told he was far enough away that he wasn't going to be bothering these people, right? Like, I really do think that the BAFTAs and the BBC are the ones who messed this up. And I think they did it on purpose.
I think so too. They Once they wanted controversy, they maybe wanted conversation around the BAFTAs, and once again, real life people are the people that are hurt, black and, people with disabilities, like people on the marginalized, or who have been marginalized already, are the people facing the most backlash, and that in self, like you said, is insidious. And yeah, got to call it out. Got to call it out, but we got to call it out to the people that are in power, and have things
Exactly.
that they can actually do to mitigate these situations from happening in the future.
Yeah. No, and I can't really add. I think you just said that really well. Can't really add anything else to that. Weird segue, but speaking of the future,
Hey, we gotta find a way to
we
to
got to
move
find a way
on.
to move
We gotta
forward there.
move forward. Yeah,
Next week, we will be recording our first inaugural Oscar predictions. It looks like next week we'll do that. After the Oscars, we'll come back and we'll do kind of a reaction, and then we'll be out of award show season. Um, I'm kind of excited to
exciting.
see where this thing will go because I love award show season. I could live in this season all the time, but I know that our podcast is not going to be about award shows forever.
Yeah, and that I think it'll be interesting. There might be more newer releases that we could talk about, at that time. I know right now, I mean, Project Hail Mary, it's coming out soon. I think it's mid March. You're seeing it early. Shout out, uh, to you. If you're
Shout out to
listening to
me.
the podcast, and you can give me early access, please, let me in. But yeah, it will be interesting to see after award season. We might even make our way too early Oscar predictions of what we think will even be nominated. I think that could be a fun exercise,
Send
and see
help.
how.
Wuthering Heights,
Wuthering Heights, I think, is at the top
Mercy.
of people's list. So,
The Oscars if they were just
uh,
in January and February.
honestly, they should do one every month. But
God,
yeah, could you imagine?
exhausting. I feel bad for all the pundits just thinking about that.
But yeah, I think I'm excited for where the podcast is going. Daniel, once again, I will always shout out Daniel and say he is incredible, just giving great insight to movies and film, giving it a deeper context, not only on the pod, but on TikTok. He's killing it, y'all. He's killing it on TikTok. The man is always not just in tune with what's happening right now in the culture. He's my go-to when it comes to where I think where I should feel about a situation. Sometimes I'm like,
No,
what's
no, no.
Daniel say?
Enough
What's
of
the
this, enough of
pulse?
this, because,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
who
yeah.
between us have gotten a pair of shoes recently? You know, you're the one who's
So I'm
killing it
just a
here.
capitalist. I'm just an entertainer, y'all. Uh, they
Not
take
at all.
advantage of me to market to y'all. So they're like, oh, they like you, so here's some
Not at
shoes.
all. If you're not
Go
following
watch
Derrick's
Goat.
reviews, oh, you have to plug it in there? If you're not following
I don't
Derrick
know. I don't know.
if you're not following Derrick, I don't know if I can trust you because, like, Derrick's content pushes me to be better. I mean, recently Derek started using the new camera. Like the editing quality has been great and covering like TV shows too. So if you're not following Derek, please do. You can also follow us, the Screen Guide Podcast, on all social media platforms. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We are on TikTok. We got that channel going. We're slowly but surely going to be rolling out clips from the podcast onto those channels. But yeah, I'm really excited for the next steps on all these different areas of the Screen Guide journey.
The Screen Guide Podcast.
The Screen Guide Podcast.
Dude.
Put it in your ears.
Put it in your ears.